One
Ma'am.
but my boyfriend is dying of a stab.
Ma'am, what is the address?
Please, God, please. Come see my boyfriend. Baby, I'm so sorry. Baby.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
If you have a stab wound to his shoulder, you can sit down.
What do you mean he has a stab wound on his shoulder, ma'am?
Yes, he's bleeding from his shoulder. Get up. Listen, please, God, please, please, God, please,
Hey, ma'am, please.
3101. It's One Paraiso, One Paraiso.
Ma'am, listen to me. You need to stop screaming on the line and give me the address.
3101.
I can't feel my arm.
3101.
I can't feel my arm.
She was the kind of star who seemed to have it all: beauty, wealth, and millions of devoted followers. Courtney Clenney, an Onlyfans sensation, built her empire on a life that sparkled in the spotlight. Her fans adored her for her charm, her glamorous posts, and her seemingly perfect life. But what if that image wasn't the whole story? What if the perfection she shared with the world was just a mask, hiding something far darker? On April 3rd, 2022, that mask slipped. Courtney's Miami apartment became the scene of a horrific crime that left her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli, dead from a fatal stab wound to the chest. Courtney claimed it was self-defense, the only way to protect herself from an abusive partner. But as investigators dug deeper, a more unsettling narrative began to unfold. The woman the world knew as a confident influencer was suddenly at the center of a murder investigation. Her rise to fame, her turbulent relationship with Christian, and the events leading up to that fateful day were all under scrutiny. The evidence, the testimonies, and the shocking footage from her own building began to paint a picture that was far from simple. How does someone go from an online icon to a murder suspect? And what really happened behind the closed doors of that Miami apartment? Was this the tragic culmination of a toxic relationship? Or was there something more deliberate, more calculated behind the act? As the story unfolded, it forced everyone watching to question the line between victim and perpetrator. This is not just a story about fame and tragedy. It's a story about the blurred boundaries of power, control, and accountability. Courtney Clenney's tale is one of ambition, chaos, and consequences, a stark reminder that what you see online is rarely the full picture. By the time this story ends, you'll find yourself asking one haunting question: was she a victim or a cold-blooded killer? To the outside world, Courtney Clenney's life was the definition of success. Born in Texas in 1996, she quickly grew into a fitness enthusiast and social media influencer, captivating audiences with her workout routines and motivational posts. Her natural charisma and stunning looks helped her transition into modeling, and soon she found a massive following on Onlyfans, a platform that turned her into a self-made millionaire. Her posts painted a picture of a woman in control: luxury vacations, high-end fashion, glamorous selfies. Courtney's life looked like a dream curated for her audience. She had everything: fame, fortune, and a lifestyle millions envied. But what her followers didn't see was what happened when the cameras were off. Courtney was in a relationship with Christian Obumseli, a man described by friends as ambitious and charming, someone who seemed to complement her high-energy personality. But as their relationship deepened, so did the cracks in its foundation. Public arguments became a frequent occurrence, with reports of shouting matches and heated confrontations that spilled out into their shared apartment building. According to neighbors, Courtney and Christian's fights were so intense that the police were called multiple times. And then there were the accusations. Friends of the couple revealed a darker side to their dynamic, alleging that Courtney often initiated the arguments and physical altercations. One neighbor claimed to have seen Courtney striking Christian in an elevator, an incident captured on their building's security footage. Yet others described Christian as controlling, with an explosive temper that could quickly turn dangerous. Their relationship, it seemed, was a storm brewing just beneath the surface. How does a couple that seemed to have it all, wealth, beauty, and success, end up here? Was this a case of mutual toxicity, or was one of them the true aggressor? To understand what really happened, we need to look at the day their volatile dynamic reached its breaking point. April 3rd, 2022, began like any other day in Miami's upscale Edgewater neighborhood. But by evening, the luxurious high-rise at One Paraiso would become the scene of a tragic event that shocked both the local community and the online world. At approximately 5 p.m., a frantic 911 call was placed from the apartment of Courtney Clenney, a well-known Onlyfans model. In the recording, Courtney's voice trembles with panic as she pleads for help.
Ma'am,
my boyfriend is dying of a stab.
Ma'am, what is the address?
Please, God, please, come see my boyfriend. Baby, I'm so sorry. Baby.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
If you have a stab wound to his shoulder, you can sit down.
What do you mean he has a stab wound on his shoulder, ma'am?
Yeah, he's bleeding from his shoulder. Get up. Listen, please, God, please, get up. Please, God, get up.
In the background, her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli, can be heard moaning in pain, uttering,
Please.
3101. It's One Paraiso, One Paraiso.
Ma'am, listen to me. You need to stop screaming on the line and give me the address.
3101.
He's gonna die. I can't feel my arm.
3101.
I can't feel my arm.
The distressing call captures the chaos and desperation of that moment. First responders arrived swiftly, finding Christian Obumseli, 27, with a single stab wound to the chest. Despite immediate medical attention, he succumbed to his injuries, leaving a promising life cut tragically short.
Get up, come on. You gotta get the dogs in.
Okay.
Get up.
Please go. Please.
Listen, get up, right. Drop it on the floor. I'll help him out. Get up.
Oh, no. No, I can't.
Get up.
I can't let this, okay?
It's back over.
Wait, it wasn't.
In the immediate aftermath, Courtney Clenney was detained by police. She claimed that the stabbing was an act of self-defense, alleging that Christian had attacked her, and she had no choice but to protect herself. Observations noted that she had no visible injuries at the time. Clenney's attorney later stated that she was a victim of domestic abuse and acted out of fear for her life. After providing her statement, Courtney was released without charges, pending further investigation. This decision sparked public outrage, with many questioning the leniency shown to her. As details of the couple's tumultuous relationship emerged, including previous domestic disturbances and a violent encounter captured on elevator surveillance footage, the narrative became increasingly complex. The public was left grappling with unsettling questions. Was this a tragic case of self-defense, or was there a more sinister truth behind the facade of a glamorous social media life? As the investigation unfolded, the line between victim and perpetrator became increasingly blurred, leaving everyone searching for answers. As the hours turned into days following Christian Obumseli's tragic death, the question on everyone's mind was simple. What really happened inside that Miami apartment? To answer that, investigators began piecing together evidence that would ultimately challenge Courtney Clenney's claims of self-defense and lead to her arrest months later. The crime scene inside Clenney's luxury apartment told a story that wasn't easy to reconcile with her account. Investigators found a knife, reportedly the weapon used in the stabbing, resting near the kitchen sink. Bloodstains were discovered on the walls and floor, suggesting a violent struggle. Yet, Clenney maintained that the attack happened in a moment of panic and self-preservation. Adding to the complexity of the case was surveillance footage from the building's elevator, recorded just weeks before the fatal stabbing. In the video, Courtney can be seen hitting and shoving Christian during an argument. Christian appears defensive, stepping away and attempting to de-escalate the situation. This footage painted a picture of a volatile and potentially abusive relationship, raising questions about who was truly the aggressor. Forensic analysis of the stab wound revealed another crucial detail. The angle and depth of the wound suggested that the knife had been thrown, not plunged, a detail that directly contradicted Clenney's self-defense claim. Prosecutors argued that this detail pointed to a deliberate act rather than an impulsive one. Despite the mounting evidence, it wasn't until August 2022, 4 months after the crime, that Courtney Clenney was arrested while staying at a rehabilitation center in Hawaii. Prosecutors charged her with second-degree murder, citing the forensic evidence, elevator footage, and a history of domestic disturbances as critical components of their case. Her arrest reignited public debate, with supporters claiming she was a victim of abuse driven to a breaking point, while others saw her as a manipulative figure hiding behind her fame and wealth to evade accountability. The question of guilt or innocence had become a flashpoint, not just in the courtroom, but across social media and news outlets. The arrest of a high-profile figure like Clenney sent shockwaves through the public. On one side were those who sympathized with her, arguing that her mental state and the alleged abuse she endured should be taken into account. On the other were those who saw Christian's death as the tragic result of unchecked violence within their relationship. With public opinion deeply divided, the case took on a life of its own, fueled by Clenney's celebrity status and the unsettling evidence that seemed to raise more questions than it answered. Was she truly defending herself? Or had her fame created a veil that allowed darker truths to remain hidden for too long? The answer, prosecutors hoped, would come out in court. But as the trial approached, it became clear that this would not be a simple case to unravel. As the legal battle unfolds, the courtroom has become a theater where two starkly contrasting narratives vie for credibility. On one side, the prosecution paints Courtney Clenney as a calculated aggressor. On the other, the defense portrays her as a desperate woman acting in self-defense. The stakes are monumental, with Clenney's freedom hanging in the balance. The prosecution contends that Clenney's actions on April 3, 2022, were far from defensive. They argue that the fatal stabbing of Christian Obumseli was a deliberate act, not a spontaneous reaction to imminent danger. To bolster their case, prosecutors have introduced a trove of evidence, including text messages and witness testimonies, that depict Clenney as the primary aggressor in a tumultuous relationship. Among the most compelling pieces of evidence are recordings from Obumseli's cell phone, capturing heated arguments in which Clenney can be heard berating him with racial slurs and threats. In one particularly disturbing audio clip, she repeatedly uses the N-word and expresses a desire to harm him.
So shut up and let me slap you, dumb. Give me my phone.
You have your phone.
You literally talked to her without telling me.
Courtney, I was on a bike ride and she passed me and I said hi. You and Courtney are having a live chat. My bad, I forgot to tell you that. That doesn't make you to act and call me a
You're a
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I want you to get away from me.
These recordings, prosecutors assert, reveal a pattern of verbal and emotional abuse that escalated to physical violence. Additionally, surveillance footage from the couple's Miami apartment building shows Clenney attacking Obumseli in an elevator, just weeks before the fatal incident. In the video, she is seen hitting and pushing him, while he attempts to de-escalate the situation. This visual evidence, according to the prosecution, contradicts Clenney's portrayal of herself as the victim. In stark contrast, the defense maintains that Clenney acted in self-defense, driven by fear for her life after enduring a pattern of abuse at Obumseli's hands. Her attorneys argue that on the day of the incident, Obumseli attacked Clenney, prompting her to grab a knife in a desperate bid to protect herself. To support this claim, the defense has presented evidence of prior incidents where Clenney allegedly sought help to escape the abusive relationship. They have highlighted instances where she contacted law enforcement and confided in friends about the alleged abuse. Furthermore, Clenney's legal team has criticized the prosecution's evidence as being taken out of context, arguing that the selective presentation of recordings and messages fails to capture the full scope of the couple's volatile relationship. In a recent bond hearing, the defense showcased a video demonstration featuring an expert throwing knives at pig carcasses to simulate human flesh. The aim was to demonstrate that Clenney's account of throwing the knife in self-defense is plausible. However, prosecutors challenged the relevance of this demonstration, noting discrepancies in distance and physical attributes between the expert and Clenney. As of now, the trial is ongoing, with both sides continuing to present evidence and call witnesses. The judge has made several key rulings regarding the admissibility of certain pieces of evidence, including private messages and recordings, which could significantly impact the trial's outcome. the jury faces the daunting task of sifting through conflicting narratives, emotional testimonies, and complex evidence to determine the truth. The case has sparked widespread public interest, with debates raging over issues of domestic violence, self-defense, and the influence of social media fame on legal proceedings. As the trial progresses, the world watches closely, awaiting a verdict that will not only decide Courtney Clenney's fate, but also potentially set a precedent for how similar cases are judged in the future. The tragic case of Courtney Clenney and Christian Obumseli is more than just a courtroom drama. It's a reflection of deeper societal issues, shining a spotlight on fame, accountability, and the complexities of domestic violence. At its core, it asks us to confront uncomfortable truths about the systems we rely on to define justice and protect the vulnerable. Courtney Clenney wasn't just any defendant. As an Onlyfans star and social media influencer, her fame created a unique dynamic that shaped public perception and even the legal proceedings. For some, her celebrity status evoked sympathy, an image of a glamorous woman trapped in a toxic relationship. For others, her wealth and privilege became symbols of how fame can distort accountability, allowing individuals to evade justice in ways an average person could not. Her online persona complicated the narrative. To her millions of followers, Courtney was a confident, independent woman living her best life. But in the courtroom, that same image was used as evidence of manipulation and control, an outward projection masking inner turmoil. This duality raises critical questions. How much does public image shield us from scrutiny? And at what point does fame stop protecting someone and start condemning them? Wealth also played a significant role. Clenney's ability to afford high-profile legal representation and expert witnesses shaped the trajectory of the trial. This highlights a broader societal issue: how access to resources can tip the scales of justice, particularly in cases involving domestic violence, where narratives are often murky and deeply personal. At the heart of this case lies a troubling truth about domestic violence. It is rarely black and white. Relationships like Courtney and Christian's often exist in a gray area, where the roles of victim and aggressor blur, shifting with every argument and incident. This complexity makes it difficult to address such cases effectively, both in personal interventions and within the legal system. One of the greatest challenges is recognizing the warning signs before tragedy strikes. The volatility in Courtney and Christian's relationship was no secret. Friends, neighbors, and even law enforcement were aware of their escalating conflicts. Yet, like so many toxic relationships, it spiraled out of control, culminating in an irreversible act of violence. How many lives could be saved if we had better tools to identify and address these patterns earlier? There's also a cultural component. Domestic violence remains stigmatized and misunderstood, particularly when it comes to male victims. Christian's friends described him as calm and even tempered, often trying to de-escalate confrontations. Yet his voice in the narrative was often overshadowed by Courtney's claims of self-defense. This highlights the need for greater awareness of how gender biases influence our understanding of abuse. The Clenney Obumseli case is a stark reminder that domestic violence doesn't fit neatly into predefined roles or stereotypes. It calls on society to rethink how we approach these issues, not just in the courtroom, but in our communities, relationships, and cultural narratives. It also underscores the importance of accountability at every level. Fame and privilege should not obscure the truth or diminish the pursuit of justice. At the same time, we must ensure that those who genuinely act in self-defense are not condemned without thorough examination of the facts. In the end, this case is a reflection of the systems we've built and their limitations. It's a sobering reminder that behind every headline is a complex web of human experiences, failures, and opportunities to do better. The story of Courtney Clenney and Christian Obumseli is far from over, yet it has already left an indelible mark on everyone who has followed it. It's a tale of love turned toxic, fame turned dangerous, and lives forever altered by a single irreversible moment. For some, Courtney Clenney's arrest and trial are a step toward justice, a reckoning for actions that can no longer be hidden behind the veil of social media perfection. For others, it's a tragic outcome in a story of two people trapped in a destructive cycle that neither could escape. What is clear is that this case forces us to confront difficult questions about accountability, domestic violence, and the power dynamics at play in relationships where the line between victim and aggressor is razor thin. As the trial continues, we'll watch for the verdict, knowing it carries the weight of two lives, one tragically lost and another that hangs in the balance. But no matter the outcome, this story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of ignoring the warning signs of toxicity, the influence of privilege on justice, and the devastating consequences of unchecked conflict. What do you think about Courtney Clenney's claims of self-defense? Do you believe the evidence supports her story, or does it tell a different tale? And what does this case say about how we handle fame, wealth, and accountability in our justice system? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. In our next video, we'll uncover another story that blurs the lines between innocence and guilt, diving into a case that shocked the world with its twists and turns. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. This has been another deep look into the complexities of crime, human nature, and justice. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious and stay safe.